The Destiny community negativity is at an all-time high. I've been playing this game since the beginning, and I have never seen so much backlash towards Bungie, and honestly just so much negativity across the board. It seems like everyone is pissed these days, and Datto's most recent video is called Some of You Need to Take a Break, and it shows, and I have an idea of what this is about. This has become #1 trending in the Destiny 2 category today.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Paris, the nicest place on earth to get lung cancer. Today, I want to talk about something that I have spoken about before, and that's burnout. I get the question myself quite often, how do you play this game? Every variant of that kind of question that you can imagine. And for me, the answer is simple. My job does not stop just because I'm uninterested in the game. There's times where my job's really fun. There are times when it's not really fun. And right now we're more in the not category, but YouTube is an insatiable beast that must continue to be fed. And how I feel about anything doesn't matter. Just doesn't. But of course, during these very tumultuous times, the question has been popping up more and more in my streams, my social media, Reddit. I literally see people every day questioning their playtime. Like, what am I doing? This guy with 2,000 hours, this guy with 3,000 hours. I don't know what to do in the game anymore. Nothing interests me. I just log in, I sit in orbit, and then I log out, or I go to the tower and I just jump around like an idiot. People acting like they're forced into playing the game against their will. And while I was away, I saw an article come out talking about Diablo 4 and some of the issues that people are having with that game. Diablo 4 is not even in Season 1 yet, and people are losing their minds over some of the endgame situation. World bosses are just like instantly dying, the drop rates of this, drop rates of that, nightmare dungeons or something. Whatever people are complaining about. I don't know. I only made it to level 49 before I just kind of had to rotate off the game. In reality, I do feel like it's a somewhat similar problem to other games. Eventually, there stops being new or challenging things to go do, and hitting that end point can feel really bad if you're really invested or really interested in that game. The same thing happened to me on Borderlands 3. I've said the story a bajillion times. I hit max level, I got geared out, I beat all the hardest stuff on the hardest difficulty, and then I got so geared that we just stomped it into the ground, and then I was good after that. I was good. I felt good with how much I got to play and what I accomplished, and then I just kind of moved away. I moved on. After talking with a friend who did do the level 100, killed Uber Lilith, whatever it's called, grind in Diablo 4, it is somewhat clear that it is a very familiar situation. The Omega gamers grinded the hell out of the game and ran out of stuff to do. That's not to say that the game is without flaws. I just don't know what they are because I haven't really played it past level 49. But it is something every game of this kind eventually experiences.
Which is definitely true. As someone that has played way too many hours at this point in time, you definitely get to a point where you've just grinded too much. You've grinded everything. You've gotten the maximum set of legendary armor, all 3 characters, exotic armor, all 3 characters, all the essential god rolls, all the essential crafted weapons, and then you're kind of left with, well, now what? You know, and then you're just waiting for the next season. You're chomping at the bit, waiting for something to do, and Bungie has their drip feed method, and unfortunately we used to get a lot more content, and so we are bored so much faster. And I think that's where a lot of people's frustrations come from, is the lack of content, which is a very fair criticism. But there is a point where you give that criticism, you say, hey Bungie, we need more content. We say it over and over again, season after season, but eventually you just have to stop playing or play significantly less. And it's kind of frustrating because we used to be able to grind Destiny all the time. You would think that Bungie would want you to grind the game all the time, because that's like kind of the whole point, like their whole business model. But instead, it's like you just can't really grind Destiny anymore, especially if you've been grinding it for the last few years. There's not much to do anymore.
And in a recent dev live stream, the Diablo 4 devs, in Season 0 of their game, told people to just take a break. If you're feeling done, you're feeling burnt out, take a break. And this is not some profound statement. You know, other devs have spoken about this before. Bungie has spoken about this before. It was a very long time ago, but they have. You play when there's new stuff to play. You get off when you're just not feeling it anymore. But I don't know what it is about certain games that people just feel the need to permanently latch on even if they don't want to play anymore. Just like forcing themselves to play. That's not healthy. It's not healthy to do. And I don't feel like it should take a streamer or a YouTuber to literally tell you to your face that you should stop playing a thing if you don't enjoy it anymore. Like, it shouldn't... it has in the past for me. I've literally said back to people like, well, you know, like, why don't you want to play anymore, or this or that, or like literally just ask the question back to them and they answer it on their own. So like, I don't know, I get it all the time throughout the history of the franchise. Hey, Datto, not really enjoying the game anymore. I just kind of log on and jump around the tower for 20 minutes and then I log off. I still really like the game. I like the franchise. I'm just not feeling it right now. What should I do? And pretty much every time I tell that person to take a break, which on occasion brings up the fear of missing out situation. One that I think is not nearly as big of a problem as people think it is anymore. Like, look, just because you stop playing a game doesn't mean you are banished from ever following it ever again. Like, you can still keep up with like news and updates and all that. That's why I'm here, to keep you informed, to keep you updated. So if something comes out where I'm really excited for a thing or really positive about a thing, like a gun, piece of content, blah, 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 that's something you could probably swing back to the game for, assuming you already own the content. I'm guessing a good portion of viewers have the annual pass, but, you know, I would like to know how, like, what percentage of people buy seasons individually, like buy them piecemeal as opposed to just getting the annual pass. Maybe I'll take a poll in the community section soon. I don't know, I think that'd be interesting, because in my mind, I'm just like, if you're an enthusiast, you just get the annual pass and that's it. But like, what are people afraid of actually missing out on at this point? Like, genuine question. Real question.
People are probably afraid of missing out on stuff like the legendary shard glitch more than anything. Can you imagine if you were just taking a break from Destiny and then all of a sudden that happened? Like, people were gaining 20,000 plus legendary shards. People are afraid of missing out on stuff like, I don't know, good weapons that Banshee has, the 8-1 shaders. You know, there's moments when, for example, what certain weapons leave the loot pool rotation, like the hand cannon, Exalted Truth, and the machine gun are leaving this season. So I get it. Like, there is an element of FOMO to some degree. Bungie has combated it to a lesser degree than it was in the past, but it's still definitely there, and you still feel the need to log in and play regularly if you're a Destiny player. I think that everyone should just keep their session time lower more than anything. You know, log in. If Destiny is your game, log in, see what you want to do, see what's going on. If 30 minutes in you're bored, log off. Go play something else. Go do something else. Do whatever you want. You log in and 5 hours goes by, your game time's over, you have to go to bed. You had a good time, then great, you know, but don't force yourself into playing it.
Like, is it a seasonal gun? Is it like not doing like a certain mission or something? When it comes to guns, at this point in the game's life, there are only so many guns that are going to be like meta-breaking, meta-defining weapons, and even when they do exist, there's usually some kind of replacement weapon for that particular gun, and you're not really going to be that far behind. And like, regardless of all of that, some of these meta breaker weapons are only super important for people playing at the absolute highest levels of the
Yes.
game all the time. Like, you're running GMs all the time. You're consistently raiding, master raiding. You're doing speedrun stuff. If you don't farm an Omega God roll of the dungeon rocket, you're still going to be just fine.
This is such a good point to make. And this is a point where I roast my friends who grind the game a ton. Not to throw them under the bus too much, because I do love them, but I have friends that grind this game so much they have a god roll of everything, the most perfect armor. And I ask them, like, why do you go and get that stuff if you just don't really use it unless you have to use it, you know? I try to get them to do fun challenges with me, like 3-man the raid, but they're not interested. Try to do low man challenges, try to do funny, you know, boss melt challenges, but they will just, it's almost just a habit of just getting all the good weapons and then not even like doing anything with them. A lot of people don't realize how much you grind for a weapon and then you don't actually give that weapon the proper playtime it deserves half the time.
Playing the game. And if someone does boot you from a raid or give you problems for not having it, they're an asshole, and you're better off not playing with that person anyway. You know, I will always try to keep you as informed as I can when it comes to stuff like that, but most of the time, a season's going to have what? 1 or 2 guns that are worth chasing down, and most of the time you'll be able to chase those 1 or 2 guns down without it being too painful.
That's part of the problem right there, though, is that he just said that most seasons are going to have 1 or 2 guns that are worth chasing. Why is the bar so low? That's why everyone's so mad. That's why people are screaming on Twitter and Reddit everywhere 24/7. It's like, you're telling me I paid for this season, I have like 1 or 2 guns that are worth grinding for? Like, why is there not more loot to chase for? The Solstice just came out. We have a hand cannon. It's mid. We have shotguns, mid, rocket, terrible. It's like 3 new weapons or 3 reprised weapons brought in the game. The hand cannon, you could just insert better perks on it. It could be the best 120 in the game. Shotgun could be one of the best in the game with better perks. The rocket could literally be a very good strand rocket if it just had comparable perks. It doesn't even have to have the meta perks compared to the hothead or the other rockets like the dungeon rocket. It just has to have comparable. Just if it just had explosive light and auto loading, that alone would make the strand rocket very much worth grinding for. But instead we pay for a season and they give us 30, 40 new / reprised guns, and like 1 or 2 of them are better than the stuff that you've had from the last season or the last year or 5 years you've been playing. And that's the frustrating part. It's like, why is it the bar set so low? 1 or 2?
An experience, especially now with the crafting. You know, if you're a dad with 7 kids, 9 jobs, 18 minutes to play every 6 weeks, I can't help you there. But also maybe consider a different game at that point. You know, Destiny is kind of a game that it's built with the intent of playing it a little more often than that. You know, if you have that little amount of play time, then yeah, I can't help you there. If you're concerned about story, missing out on the story, there are tons of resources out there that will like not only break down the story from the week, but will dive into deeper detail that you likely would not have on your own. They'll cover it week by week. People cover it week by week. They'll cover the entire season. They'll cover extra little bits. Like, you can find that stuff without turning on the game at all. I think maybe a big thing for a lot of people is the season pass, like hitting 100 on the pass. And yeah, you know, that is a bigger time investment that you need to make. But even just logging in once a week, banging out some of these, you know, easier seasonal challenges is going to get you a lot further along in the pass than you think. Making full use of that bonus XP that you get every reset, like your next 5 levels have like hyper speed basically, is really key to minimizing the amount of time that you spend getting levels and minimizes how much you need to do extra grinding. You know, one of the ways that some of my friends play is to play the expansion and maybe a little bit of the season that comes with it. They ditch the game until the final season, and then they can play all the new stuff with no time gates, no waiting. You can just play everything that you want right away, mostly. It does leave you with a limited amount of time to actually do those things, you know, about 3 months. But that should be enough time to get through the weekly story beats for all these seasons, especially considering what Bungie has been asking us to actually do in those missions as of late, which has been not that much. Not that much. You know, not really a big deal to clear out a Throne World Law sector or something like that. You could also just wait until all of the story content in a season has been released and play it on like a season-by-season basis. That is totally fine too. There are many ways to play the game that don't involve monotonously playing in ways that you don't want to. There is no one forcing your hand. Like, you can play at your leisure. You know, I promise that you're not missing out on nearly as many things as you think you might be. And for the things that are good, again, people will tell you. There's no more secrets on the internet. When it comes to this stuff, there's no more secrets. I will tell you, someone will tell you, you know, wait for season recaps, wait for reviews, first impressions. I know that it's crap that you can't buy old seasons from the year individually. Like, once season 21's over, you can't buy it individually, which is annoying. Go figure, the one people are actually willing to spend silver on isn't offered in the store. But trust when I say that missing 1 season, even 2 seasons, it's not going to be the end of the world. All these videos that people release, that I release, new meta this, new top DPS weapon that, new craziest build. It doesn't matter that much. It really doesn't. There are, I don't know, maybe 200 teams that participate in the World First Raid race that kind of stuff actually matters to, like really matters. And like 5 speedrunning groups. Everyone else, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's not that deep. It's really not that deep. And if you're so concerned with such a thing, with FOMO, then my suggestion continues to be waiting, getting some reviews, getting some opinions, and then making a purchase decision based on your current love of the game, the items within the season, and how much time you have to play. Don't pre-order. Don't get the Omega Deluxe Diamond Edition right away unless you know that you're going to play no matter what, right? I think some of this also has to deal with the fact that we are at the end of this part of the game's story. Like, we're moving into an era, like part 2 next year, less than a year from now. We'll be in the second era of the game, whatever that means. And I wonder if people are afraid of feeling like if they burn out now, they're not going to like want to see the end or anything like that. Like, they're too far along to miss out on the rest of the things. Like, you've invested too much time to give up now. But again, like, it's not that deep. You can take a season off, you can take some time away and still want to see how it all ends, or like come back for Final Shape and just play that. Like, the Bungie marketing machine, dude, it's crazy. Like, community sentiment is so down right now. I'm talking like season 2, season 10 down. But you know, the moment that Bungie starts that Final Shape showcase, none of this stuff's going to matter. Everyone's just going to get hyped again. I'm going to get hyped again. You're going to get hyped again. That excitement's going to return. I promise you. Or maybe it doesn't. That's okay. Maybe you just want to see how it ends. You can hop off the train. That's fine too. I know a lot of people are probably going to finish out this era of the game and then they're out of here. But it's not that deep. Missing a gun, missing a season, it doesn't matter that much, man. You're going to have a much better relationship with the game if you don't force yourself to play it. And I always hear from people how refreshing it is to come back after a season, 2 seasons, taking a break, a year, 2 years. Come back and, they come back to the game and they take in all the new things and the new systems and whatever else. It's a surprise to them. And they feel rejuvenated. They feel refreshed.
It's definitely a really good point to make, which is you can take time off. And I think a lot of people, I would argue a little bit that people should take more breaks, which is a fair point, which is what I think he's saying. But part of the frustration comes from just paying a lot of money for this game and for all the other stuff that goes with it. And then just feeling like you're just not getting very much, especially compared to the past when we felt like we were getting a lot, And the tough part is that as you go from a beginner Destiny player to an intermediate to a veteran Destiny player, there's just so much less to do. Like, if you could memory erase yourself right now, right? If you could just completely wipe the slate clean and start over again, there would be so much for you to do when you log in. You'd be like, holy crap, I have to do all these campaigns. I have to get how many exotics? I have to get how many exotic weapons, how many exotic armor pieces? Like, you would be dumbfounded with the amount of stuff there is to do. You would be lost. You'd be like, well, you would have to write off the next 6 months and just grind. Not to mention, imagine figuring out all the mechanics of everything, going to LFGs, failing, getting booted, bad weapons, grinding your way back up, right? The beginner in Destiny has so much to do. The intermediate has a moderate amount to do, and then the veterans, they have like nothing to do. And it's the veterans that are the loudest voices right now, because they're just like, we've been playing this game, we've always had something to do in the past. We felt a little bit more like the intermediates, but now it's like, pay for a season, don't even play. Like, you're telling me I'm gonna pay for a season, just have nothing to do and just be disappointed every Tuesday at reset, disappointment for 12 weeks straight. And that's the part that's frustrating, And those people, I would say, and I think that what Datto's trying to say in this, those are the people that just need to take a break. You just got to take a break. Imagine if you did take a break and then you go back where you have to catch up on some stuff, right? Imagine you take such a long break, you have to catch up on a lot of stuff. Well, now you have something to do. You have something to chase for. You have something to aspire to accomplish. You have, maybe you're 2 dungeons behind. Maybe you're a raid behind. Maybe you need to get don't know, 10 new exotics. By that point in time, you take a whole year off or whatever, right? But the problem is everyone's logging in and they're playing very regularly. Destiny's their main game. They love Destiny. They've been there since the beginning, and they feel so deflated because something new comes in the game, takes them 30 minutes to get it done, and then they have nothing to do for the rest of the week. They wait till next Tuesday reset, log in, do some random story mission, nothing to do, you know? And it gets old, it gets frustrating. So it's the veterans that are really upset right now, and they are probably the ones that do need to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to take a break, you know? And it's clear that there are some people out there who really need to hear that. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a 50-hour, 500-hour, 5,000-hour gamer. Take some time off if you're not feeling it. You know, best thing that you can do for yourself. It's a video game. It's a thing literally designed for leisure. If you're not having a good time, just put it down, come back later. It's not that deep. You know, it's really not that deep.
Very, very interesting video. Hopefully, I think really the issue that he's trying to say is more just to combat some of the negativity, that those that are super burnt out don't just keep expressing so much negativity, so much vitriol, so much frustration with the franchise, because you can just step aside for a little bit. And technically, if the numbers do get lower, that's going to be a red flag to Bungie, you know, to like, hey, we need to do better. We need to do better. But if you keep playing and the numbers keep staying really high, then Bungie's going to think, you know, we can get away with this. You know, every season we have fewer and fewer exotics. Every season we have fewer and fewer new weapons. Every season we have more recycled content, more Eververse shit every season. You know, the longer we let it go on and the more we allow that stuff, then that's just going to keep being the pattern that we see. You know, we need to change our habits to some degree, take a break if you're feeling really burnt out, and play something else, you know. And the part that is frustrating with that is because you know that Bungie doesn't want you to do that. Like, it's not a good business model to tell your whole player base to just, hey, just come back with the final shape. Just everyone just log off, come back with the final shape, you know. But that's not really what the result's going to be. But that's kind of the sentiment that is being expressed right now. And it sucks that Bungie can't give us what we want, which is just some new exciting content, some new weapons to chase for, some new exotics to chase for, some fun, engaging content that's extremely real playable. But we're also just getting too good for the game. We're getting too good. We're getting too efficient, you know. Now, when I first started playing back in D1, you would log in and jump in the Crucible. You had no clue what was good. You would just be wandering around aimlessly. Maybe you use an auto rifle, maybe you use a fusion. Something kills you. It's like super overpowered. You're like, what the hell? I guess that's good. You know, I guess I'll try using that. You know, you don't even know how to get that weapon though. You're like, what is that? What did I just get shot by? A fusion rifle? Where's that from? How do I get that? What's that exotic? I've never even seen that. You know, you didn't have any clue. Nowadays, a new exotic drops in the game. Speedrunners have already gotten it in 12.2 minutes. They've already unlocked the new exotic. New exotics here. They've already unlocked the catalyst 5 minutes later. They've already leveled up the catalyst because they leveled it up in Shirochi. They've already damage tested and compared the exotic to every other exotic. They put it into an Excel spreadsheet, and you can already calculate the exact optimal DPS and every single possible factor you could ever know, and then you can guaranteed know whether or not this exotic is a meta weapon within 30 minutes. This exotic just dropped in the game and we already know everything there is to know about it. Everything you could ever know in 30 minutes, you know? That did not exist in D1. That did not exist even in the slightest sense in D1. There wasn't anyone calculating optimal time to kill. There wasn't anyone, you know, like, there wasn't anyone, like, we knew DPS to some degree, but guess what DPS was? Use Galahorn. That's what it was. Shoot Galahorn. That was your DPS for like the majority of D1. And now it's like it's very complex and complicated, but we have it all down to a science. Everyone's got spreadsheets. There's people out there that literally their entire livelihood is like making these crazy spreadsheets and adding the numbers, and they've got it all calculated. So that way, when a weapon comes into the game, it gets brought into the database, light.gg, D2 Gunsmith, whatever it may be. And before the weapon is even in the game, we've already calculated its exact damage due to its frame, due to its perks, due to its origin trait, due everything. We already know everything. Literally before the weapon is out, we know everything about that. We know everything about whether or not it's going to be good. And it's like, that's crazy. We're at a level where we've gamed the game to some level, you know, like we've gamed Bungie, we've gamed Destiny 2 so much that it's almost like not even good for us to a certain point, you know? And it's just going to happen, you know? Destiny and playing games is entertainment, and entertainment, you know, you can watch a good movie once, you know, you watch the Harry Potter series one time, like, this is good, you wait a year, you watch the whole series again. again? Well, imagine you watch the Harry Potter series once a week, every week for the last 9 years, you know? I guarantee you that 400th view is gonna feel kind of shitty. You're gonna be like, you're gonna be micro-analyzing every little discontinuity error every time someone mispronounces a word or anything. You're gonna understand the storyline and the lore of the game, and you're gonna hate Harry Potter at that point. You're gonna be like, this story doesn't even make sense. It's terrible, you know? The acting's terrible, the graphics, the CGI is trash, you know? This movie is so dated, like by the end of 400 watches, right? You know? But it's still good. It's just you've gamed it too much. You've analyzed it too much almost. Like we've looked at Destiny under such a hyper microscope now that we lose out on what makes games kind of fun, which is just not really caring that much to some degree, you know? Like for example, the Strand Rocket came out. The Strand Rocket comes out, it sounds exciting, it sounds fun. We learn immediately it's the wrong frame, it does 20% less damage, it has bad perks. Before the rocket's even out, people aren't even interested. We already know it's trash, you know? And it's like, damn, that's kind of crazy. And if we were to transplant the community back to D1 era, we wouldn't know. We'd be like, this is crazy. It's a freaking Strand Rocket. This is nuts. Look at it. It goes boom. It's green. That's epic. You know, like we would be stoked. We wouldn't know, you know, but now we know. We know everything now. And, you know, it can kind of suck the fun away from things to some degree, but we gotta kind of make of it what you will and enjoy the game for what it is at this point in time, regardless of whether or not you're in your first hour playing or your 100th hour playing, 100,000th hour playing. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed and smash the like button. See you in the next one. Later.